Hello, I'm Nick Collier, the MD of the City of London Brussels office, and I'm delighted to be joined by Katarzyna Szwarc from the Polish Finance Ministry. Katarzyna is leading the work in Poland on developing capital markets in Poland in the Ministry of Finance. So welcome, Katarzyna. So there does seem to be a new push, as we were just talking about in our panel, on CMU here in Brussels. What's the Polish reaction to that?
Thank you for that question, Nick, and thank you for hosting me most of all. Indeed, there seems to be a lot of discussions around the CMU at the moment. I suppose this is in anticipation of the new commission coming in a year or so. And let me start by saying this: Poland is absolutely proud to be part of the Capital Markets Union. It helps enormously to be part of the CMU, to be one of the markets that creates it, and it helps more often than not, which is something that is important to stress out. Why? It is a matter of common standards. I think the EU is absolutely great at creating common standards. It is about having this common dictionary and common rule book that investors recognize. Either they go to France, Germany, or Poland. Now, there are situations in which we think a more proportionate or polycentric view, if you will, could help, especially in those areas where there are big disproportions between Poland and countries with a longer capitalist tradition. Looking at the size of the market, the size of the companies, the amount of money they need in order to make meaningful investment locally, I think there are a lot of differences, and they should be reflected in the future CMU regulations.
And you've clearly been thinking a lot about the advantages that deeper capital markets could bring to the Polish economy, Polish citizens. What are they?
Well, I think there is this common bias that we all make when thinking about capital markets in the EU, which is associating capital market with the stock exchange. And we've been focusing on public markets a lot in the recent years, which is great because we can really see the positive outcomes of it nowadays with with growing liquidity, with still quite a big number of companies willing to be public companies and to be listed in Europe. But well, if you look at Poland, we actually see that there are a lot of structural issues that cannot easily be solved by making cosmetic changes to the public market regulation or structure only. It is a wider systematic issue that needs to, or the wider systematic perspective that needs to be taken. Let me give you a very specific example. We recently concluded an analysis of returns on investment and the level of costs in the Polish market. And whilst we saw that in terms of direct costs, the cost of infrastructure, cost of investment firms for individual investors, cost of investment funds, we are more or less around the EU average. We are not that different from Germany. We are cheaper from some countries. There are just a few countries that were more expensive than. There are significant differences in terms of the spread costs or the indirect costs, if you like. And there is a very clear correlation with the size of companies. Now, we digged a little bit deeper, and what we found out was that companies having their IPO on the Warsaw Stock Exchange were quite often not ready to be a public company. But because there was quite a big funding gap in the area that would, in other markets, normally be occupied by funds such as PE funds, private equity, they had no choice. So the resulting situation that we're currently facing is that there are a lot of relatively small companies that keep complaining about the compliance costs, and that is absolutely understandable. It creates this weird tension between the Polish public market and the EU, because obviously the EU wants the highest standards in the world, and this is understandable. Whereas those small companies are saying, but hey, this is half of my yearly revenue that I would have to spend on the legal costs. So this is how we realized that if we can't fix the funding gap in the area of private market, we will never be able to solve the sort of structural issues in the public market sector. So this would be my main point in discussing with policymakers the future of CMU, and hopefully we will have that opportunity in the year time or so. Let's see whether there are things beyond the stock exchange that we can fix in order for the public market in the EU to work better.
And it'll take time to develop that kind of growth in private equity, growth in an equity culture. So I think you said that you have a package of reforms going to Parliament. Have you included a number of sort of small fixes in that? What specific things are you looking at to try and change things in Poland?
So the bill going to the Parliament, hopefully within the next couple of days, is focused on public markets. It's a direct result of the capital market development strategy that the Polish government adopted back in 2019. We've worked together with all the stakeholders, including foreign investors and institutions, on a set of reforms that perhaps taken as each single one are quite cosmetic, but I think in total, as one big package, they can make a big difference and become a game changer. The private market issue or challenge is slightly bigger. I think this is the challenge ahead of us that we are currently looking into, and it certainly cannot be fixed from one day to another. Obviously, you would have the fund industry arguing that the regulations are the problem, and we're not trying to dispute that. As the Ministry of Finance, we see that that there's a lot of work ahead of us. But I also think that we should look a bit broader. We should dig a little bit deeper. Try to see whether there are any cultural issues, for example, with companies not feeling secure for an external investor to enter. Many Polish SMEs companies are family-led, family-governed, and there is no experience with being exposed to a big financial institution, especially a foreign one. Though I must say that Poland is already leading in the region in terms of attracting VC and PE investment. We're doing much better than our regional peers. So there is a light in the tunnel.
Great. Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
All the best, and we hope to see Warsaw develop as a regional centre. Katarzyna, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.